if you want to introduce yourselves, and then you can proceed with your presentation.
Tim Knight, North Lebanon Police Department, Chief of Police.
Bob Dowd, Director of Emergency Services.
Jeff Marley, Lebanon County Sheriff.
I'm Skip Garner. I'm with Greater Lebanon Refuse Authority. Jamie asked me to sit in case you folks had questions.
Thanks, Skip. All right, who's going to tee it up here?
That'll be me.
Okay, go ahead.
All right, so here today to discuss the basically the county taking on the ownership of a public safety shooting range. Right? This is intended to be a law enforcement shooting range dedicated to Lebanon County law enforcement. As of right now, this type of range doesn't exist. Our county law enforcement has to rely on private gun clubs who unfortunately have to cater to their membership. And by doing so, their ranges are set up for something other than law enforcement. There's also scheduling issues with that, where once again, catering to their membership doesn't give law enforcement any sort of preferential treatment or the ability to schedule on demand. And then finally, law enforcement need to be able to set up and exercise tactical and somewhat sensitive evolutions, which is something you just can't do at a public range. So we're trying to get all of these things taken care of, and through a partnership with the Greater Lebanon Refuse Authority, who has offered to lease us a portion of their land where we could build exactly what we're talking about. So this project would require very, very little capital investment, which is part of what makes it so attractive. Out of the gate, we need to put a fence around it, and that's about it. Everything else that's required to build this range has already been committed in one way or another from individual entities, including the Refuse Authority in North Lebanon Township. It's going to be a secure area, both visually and physically, to allow law enforcement to practice what they need to practice and leave it set up as they deem appropriate. But by making it physically secure, we're building dirt berms around it, which also makes it safe for everybody else in the area as well. The county's responsibility in this is really to just have administrative oversight of it, make sure there's a scheduling system in place, and make sure the rules are being followed, make sure we maintain the appropriate liability insurance on it. Everything else really falls to a board that we set up by the Police Chiefs Association to do the operational control of this, as far as how it gets used, how it stays set up.
And sustaining it financially?
Sustaining it financially falls to the county, but I don't know if there's a whole lot of financial commitment that we're talking about. The lease is a $0 lease. It is grounds care, basic, mowing the grass, trimming the weeds. Otherwise, replacing the fence when it wears out in 50 years, there's not going to be a whole lot of regular insurance costs as well, but there's not going to be a whole lot of reoccurring costs associated with this. The actual shooting range itself, any sort of targets, that's going to be put up and maintained by the users.
Have you developed an annual budget to maintain it, or?
We have not. And that's what we're here to discuss today, is making sure that the board wants us to move forward with getting everything in place so that we can come and take a formal action to do this.
Anything else you want to add to your presentation before we open it up for questions?
No, I think Bob pretty much covered everything that needs to be presented to you.
Chief, anything?
I can just say that I spoke with our roadmaster and also township supervisor, and he's willing to help out, as Bob mentioned, with cutting roads and accessing to help out with the range, so it's no cost for the county to do that.
Skip anything?
The authority is willing to support this in any way that we can. Certainly we could provide the materials for the berms. Everything contingent on our neighbors. And I don't think that will be much of an issue, because there's already a gun range there, and these gentlemen already certify their shooting at that gun range. So it's not a net increase in noise or use or traffic or anything like that. So.
The entire law enforcement community has been desperate for this solution for many, many years at this point.
Yeah, and when I asked about sustaining the cost, I didn't know if there was anything, if the chiefs of police are involved, it could be prorated through, you know, the different townships and municipalities, but if the cost is gonna be liability insurance and some, you know, other not significant upkeep issues,
I think the biggest cost would be the insurance and the grounds care.
And I was gonna say the grounds care isn't going to be,
No.
and I'm sure that would get to be an issue, guys would take it upon themselves to maintain it. So,
Yeah, we would take care of the backstops, the cleaning of the range, and maintaining it that way. So I don't even believe there would be a cost involved with that.
I have a series of questions, gentlemen. I always do my due diligence and try and ask questions, and it's a part of making tough decisions sometimes. So this one, while on the surface, seems like a no-brainer. I do recall several months back, I think it was a South Annville Township supervisor contacted me, hearing rumors about something like this, and was adamantly against additional firing ranges. He and neighbors had bullets coming into their barns and things like that. They were afraid their animals were going to get shot. So I bring that to your attention, and I don't know if you want to address them one at a time or hear all the questions.
I would feel fairly confident saying that, I mean, this is going to be strictly law enforcement. The range that is currently there has a lot of outside members that use it more heavily and frequently than the law enforcement do. So unless he, you know, in all the years that we've been shooting there, I've never heard a complaint, or our agency was never informed of a errant round going downrange off the course. Again, if that happened, that's something that they should have addressed with the original club to see what agency or what shoot or what organization was using it. Again, with this range, as Skip said, is not going to increase any. It may increase because there's now a facility that we can get on more frequently, but the increasing of it's not. You still have the same amount of cops in this county that were shooting there prior, but now they're on a different range that's kind of adjacent to the original range. So I would say that, you know, if that supervisor called you, he probably should have addressed it as well with the chiefs of police and local law enforcement, specifically if it was a law enforcement agency that was on the range and a round went downrange and struck his property.
The users of this range are proficient in firearms. The nature of their job requires them to be. And because of that, I think the likelihood of having this happen is significantly lower at this range than it would be at a private range.
What is the length of the range that you need to practice on and certify?
Well, MOPEC, the Municipal Police Officers Education and Training Commission, they're the ones that set the qualifications standards. At this point, it's a 50-yard. Well, yeah, it's 50, right, Tim? It's 50 yards. Because of agencies now adopting like patrol rifles, it'd probably be optimally 100 yards.
And while I heard you say it's difficult to schedule, I also saw somewhere, you just handed this to me on the way in the door, that there's an online scheduling program.
No, sorry, that's for this range. Should this go through, the way law enforcement would schedule would just be an online portal they could jump into and self-schedule. I'm trying to capture that there's very little administrative overhead that would go with this new range that we're talking about. The existing range, I don't know if they have online scheduling.
There is, but it has to be approved, and they currently allow a lot of outside training groups come in from out of the area, out of the state to come in and train, and they occupy the range most of the time. So it's difficult for police departments to get on the range because of that.
How many police are certifying in Lebanon County in a given year? And do they have to do it every year?
Yes, you have to do it
Every
every
police
year.
officer in Lebanon County has to maintain a level of certification through MOPEC.
And how many policemen do we have?
That changes, you know, it's,
Give me a range. Is it 10 to 50? Is it 50 to 100?
well, the city's authorized for 41.
Okay.
Tim has, what, 11?
12.
12. South Lebanon has another 10. North Cornwall has, what do they have, 10, 11? My office has 30.
If memory serves,
So, I mean, there's quite a few. I wouldn't say it's, you know, it.
You're up
the
to
other-
103. Does the probation office have to certify annually?
Well, the probation office, yes, they would be included in.
And there's 35 probation officers,
Yes.
if I remember correctly.
And again, you know, I'm sure the prison, if there's people there, I mean, they would be included in as well. So-
State police of Jonestown too. Probably come
The
out.
state police certify here?
Yeah.
Well, they could.
Jonestown barracks,
It
they-
depends. I think they have access, but like with anything else, it's, you know, to try to schedule guys for training, it's impossible to get everybody there on one day. So it's going to be, you know, it depends on scheduling for the officers that would be, you know.
Would this be exclusive for Lebanon County?
Yes.
And can you tell me,
and just
Well-
to, if I may, just the first question you asked, just to close that, I don't think there would be a discernible difference in the amount of shooting.
Yeah, I thought
Wanna
you
make
made
that
that
clear.
point earlier.
Okay,
but where are our people going if they can't get certified there?
they are certified.
They are certifying there. It's just, you have to, it can get tricky sometimes because you have to have it in by a certain date. And again, with guys, depending on scheduling, you have court, vacation, sick, you know, it's difficult because you're competing against a private range that is also scheduling events. So it makes it difficult to try to get the people in. I know, I'm sure one of your questions may involve evening shoots or nighttime shoots. So there is a time limit that's put on that range to begin with, and it wouldn't, you know, we would conform to that rule, that range there, because we feel that we need, you know, there are people that live in that area and it wouldn't be appropriate to be shooting late at night.
Can you tell me why we shouldn't support private enterprise? We have 2 indoor gun ranges that I'm aware of, and that would allow evening shooting, but Eng's Gun Barn and also 911 Rapid Response.
Very easily the cost and the limited ranges, the limited lanes. So 911 has 2 lanes.
Yeah.
They have 2 lanes. So again, you know, that the time, you know, you would circulate everybody through. It's going to take a longer period of time. And again, you know, speaking from past experience with the city, when we did it, you know, it was an all-day event for guys to shoot. Now, because of manpower shortages, you know, we don't have that luxury. So you're against the clock trying to get guys in and out.
How many lanes are at the existing facility?
Where at the current one,
Mhm.
what are there, 20, 25?
somewhere around
And how many would you propose for a new one?
I would say on average, I mean, the most that we've ever shot was when we were on ESU, and that was maybe 10 guys.
there. Yeah.
So, I mean, it wouldn't have to be more than 10, it could be less.
And can you tell me, I guess this is my biggest question that really is weighing heavy on my mind. I know that methane can explode, and Skip, this is where you come in. And putting it on a landfill where methane gas can escape, it concerns me that you're going to put people's lives in danger. If there's an explosion from sparks, misfires, whatever it is.
If I-
Can you
If I
calm
can
my fears?
draw your attention to this map. The area that's highlighted in red is the proposed range. The area directly below it is the existing range.
Say that again, the area above it?
Is where we're proposing one of the two locations. The area directly below it is the existing private range.
And which way would you point it? I mean, if, you know, I see houses and farms around it, except for where the landfill is, and again, going over the landfill, I'm concerned about an explosion.
Well, the ranges on the existing range, there are ranges that face the same direction as how we are laying it out. So that concern shouldn't be a concern because there's ranges already located in that direction.
But if
Okay,
the South
so-
Annville Township people are getting stray bullets.
Well, again, if they're
Sounds
getting
like
straight,
it's happening frequently.
well, again, if it is, it's news to us.
Exactly, that's the
It's
part I
news
don't
to us. It's never been
understand.
addressed with any of us.
I've
So
never
I don't.
received a
That's the
complaint.
disconnect I have too.
I've never received a complaint on the
I'm
bullet in
hearing
that
multiple
area.
issues.
I mean, I would think if there was a severe safety issue, the board of directors for that range wouldn't allow the ranges to exist that way. So again, if that's occurring, it's news to us, and I mean that's something that would circulate pretty quickly, and you know it would be known. Again, this is the first this is the first that I've ever heard that. But again, they
I
continue
did
to have the
share it with
ranges.
Jamie at the time. I didn't know where else to take it. I didn't know, apparently the supervisor didn't know. So no one came to me ahead of time with a proposal or to get questions answered. So therefore, for due diligence, I'm asking them now and informing now because I didn't know I had an opportunity. I didn't know who would be coming in, that sort of thing.
Do you know where? In our conversation, I don't think it was ever really identified where. And the supervisor, just you said something earlier that he and these residents have experienced this, but he's not local. He lives over off of Yorties Bridge Road.
Okay,
So I think he may have fielded them, but I don't think he
well,
personally.
maybe he's the one that was speaking then on behalf of the other
Right,
residents.
but do you know which direction? Because I've never.
I would have to go back
If I can
and,
offer, just in the interest of time,
Get some
I
answers.
certainly hear your concern and share that concern if in fact, so maybe we can do that investigation offline, to verify, when it happened and more information and that really
And why
doesn't
it wasn't
pertain.
reported to the position to take care of it rather than just let it.
The Lebanon
Yeah,
Police
before we
Combat
just sit
Range.
here and conjecture about what ifs, and so let's find out more information about that and because you're coming today to say, what do you think of this idea?
Right.
Based on what I've heard so far, and I hear some concerns, but based on what I've heard, I think it's a great idea to pursue.
I think it's a great idea also. So, if you want to do some homework on bird dog and this issue, which is the main concern
You
about,
could follow up.
about the sparks causing, Skip, you didn't get a chance to answer that.
If I may, that just will not happen.
It's a movie thing.
Our landfill has many, many environmental controls to control methane. We have landfill gas to energy that is extracting the methane from the landfill. We have a flare as backup. We're talking about being hundreds of yards away, and we monitor many, many probes into the ground on the perimeter of the landfill, much closer to that. And we've only ever had one issue in the last 3 years where it's even slightly elevated. That just will not happen.
I gotta add, again, not having any expertise on this, but just from a pure common sense standpoint, there's certainly that potential, but the likelihood of a spark flying from a firearm and methane gas, if there is any there, in an open area, gas explosions happen, and the danger happens when it's a house that builds up with gas. It's the likelihood of any
Being a big
kind of
open
buildup
area there,
or
it's gonna
if
dissipate.
if in fact there was any at all,
Yeah.
it's going to be
And I'm glad to hear that.
dissipated.
the conviction that you're saying that with.
I
because
feel
if-
very comfortable.
Yeah, if that's the thing
supporting
that was
that
weighing
just-
most heavily on her mind, I think that's a
You
good,
know, our facility
way
is
to
highly
alleviate that.
regulated, well managed. That's just not gonna happen.
okay. All right. Thank you, Scott.
Can I make just
Go
a
ahead,
point on the lay of the land here? So this other range that is existing currently is not on land of the Greater Lebanon Refuse Authority. You surround it on three sides, I
Yes.
believe, but it's not on land. It's one of the
That
questions.
land was deeded to the gun club from Mr.
Yeah.
Peters.
Yeah, one of the questions I had initially is if the landfill is leasing this to the police range, wouldn't there be some, influence or ability to negotiate something there? But it is solely owned, deeded to this club. Just want to make that.
And Jamie, do you feel, you may have a sense of this about the liability insurance being a barrier?
I think that, if we move to the next steps here, in fact, tomorrow and Friday, I'll be in company of the people that are our insurance carrier, and they may have questions, they may have precautions, they may have, make sure you include this and this and this in the lease, but the reality is that we belong to the Pennsylvania County Risk Pool, which insures over 50 counties in Pennsylvania, and some of those counties have ranges. I know they do. So, we wouldn't be giving them something or asking them to insure something that isn't already.
And maybe just as an extra step, if you get an outline, they've said no outside county
Yeah.
and no outside,
Yeah.
all those kind of things. Make sure we're following the same kind of
Yep.
guidelines
And
that we are already insured.
And that's common. For example, DES when they took interest in having a drone for some of the hazmat and so on, then Bob and some of his staff sat down with the P Corp loss control people and they hammered out everything that needed to be
Sweet.
done. So that's the kind of thing that happens.
Okay. Anything else?
I did speak with Officer Himmelberger, who works for me in North Lebanon Township Police Department. This is his family's farm right next door, and he's never complained of, the family's never complained of any, the noise or anything else.
I think it's a shame that whoever is reporting all these incidents has not done anything to protect those people, that the barns that they're going into and all that.
I take responsibility for that because he reported it to me. I didn't know where to direct him. If they used the state police, to me, he should, maybe notified the state police, and perhaps he did. I really don't know. I can't speak for him, but I also did report it to Jamie. So don't blame it on that supervisor.
I wasn't really, I was thinking the person would take it to an authority that could actually help.
Was I to do that?
And we don't know that he did go to the board or not of that gun club. I'm just relaying what a constituent came to me with, I'm trying to do it in a civil way and a positive way so that you can address these things. It doesn't matter if it was reported earlier or now. I think it needs to be addressed so that everyone feels safe.
And I was copied that email as well, and I believe all the concerns that he had are very, very easy to address and make sure that.
So you had a previous notice as well?
Mhm.
Okay.
Absolutely.
I couldn't remember who all got copied on it.
Okay, anything else, guys?
I didn't know that about the Himmelberger. If I would have guessed on where that would have happened, my guess would have been that farm over there because
Yeah.
it's the closest property and the closest dwelling, I would guess. But if that's not the case there, then I'm not sure.
Yeah, I specifically asked him to speak with his parents about it. So, to
Okay.
make sure.
We'll
So,
try to figure out where.
Okay,
We'll move forward with designing the project, and then we'll come back to you with a
sweet. Thank you very much.
finished plan.
Thank you. And I do support the police. I'm just trying to do what's best for everybody. Thank you.
thank you for your time.
Thank you, folks.
Good seeing you, Skip.